Even the most seasoned entrepreneurs can fall into the trap of firefighting. For some of us, it can become an addiction. Our guest today shares the deep work he did to recognize his behavior and turn it into something that positively impacts his community. Stay tuned for another great episode of Bad Boss Confessional. Hi, I'm Beth Fahey, and welcome to Bad Boss Confessional. I've been a leader for over 30 years, and I'll be honest, I've made plenty of mistakes along the way. The thing is, those mistakes taught me more about leadership than success ever did. This podcast is where we get honest about the moments we'd rather forget and discover that they're actually the ones worth remembering. Each week, I talk with leaders who aren't afraid to share their worst boss moments and what they learned from them. Because here's what I know: every great leader has a story they're not proud of. And this is where we tell those stories. Bad Boss Confessional wouldn't be possible without a word from our sponsors. Do you love running on EOS? Try Steady, the EOS platform people love. Native integrations and extra features help you manage people, projects, process, and engagement. Connected to your favorite EOS tools and all in one place. You love EOS. It's time to love the platform you're running it on. Try Steady free at Steady.com. That's STRETY.com. Steady, the EOS platform people love. Let's be honest, hiring the right people is hard. That's why I love Titus Talent Strategies. Their whole person hiring approach helps you find and keep A players who align with your values, and they back it with an industry-leading guarantee. Best part? Titus Talent Strategies is included in the Entrepreneurial Toolkit for companies running on EOS. Check them out at titustalent.com/EOS. You know that moment when you realize the person sitting across from you has lived about 3 lifetimes worth of experience? That's Robert Hartline. Robert's an EOS implementer in Nashville who believes business is a spiritual game. Clarity, structure, and energy, that's his growth formula. And he's putting it all into practice with Scaling Sober, a co working space and program he's launching that brings together everything he's learned about scaling companies and consciousness. Thanks for joining us here today, Robert. Welcome to Bad Boss Confessional.
Beth, I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, me too. And, it's funny because we were just talking before the show. We just saw each other yesterday in person in Chicago for Strategic Coach. And it's always fun to see you there once a quarter. So,
It's an interesting way to connect with someone else because every quarter you get to see each other evolve. And it's just fun to kind of see that journey.
yeah. And I'm excited for you to talk about your new project, Scaling Sober, and your EOS practice and the 10 other things that you're currently working on because you're one of those serial entrepreneurs, aren't you?
Yeah. It's so funny. I have a friend of mine that calls it parallel entrepreneur. He doesn't like to call it serial.
Ah, because it
But
sounds
it's the
like
same
serial
thing.
killer.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I parallel, that is a nicer way to say it.
Yeah, you're just running multiple things at the same time, and in my eyes, they kind of all intertwine and interconnect.
Yeah, I mean, who am I to talk, right? I've got an implementer practice. I have a book that's out. I have a podcast. So it's like we're all wired that way. And I'm just curious, were you always an entrepreneur? Have you started like from a very young age? Like give us a little bit of your career path to date, if you wouldn't mind.
Age 12, paper out. Um,
Same.
uh, I had multiple gigs. I washed a lot of cars. I was a DJ in high school. I did. Um, I did it all. I really have always been working, and I've always had these little side things and lots of things I would not even dare to admit. But Yeah. So I started selling cell phones in 1994. And I only took the job because it paid for training. And I did the training. I had my first week and I was going door to door selling cell phones. And the first week was horrible. And I was hating it. I didn't love it. And it was a Saturday. I heard a knock on the door. And I opened the door, and there's a guy standing there with the drill. And he said, "If I can't put this peephole in your door in less than 30 seconds, it's free." And I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't have answered the door if there was a salesperson. And as I was thinking, he said, "I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that you can go to Home Depot and you can buy this $1.50 peephole and put it in your own door. Little do you know that it needs a $25 drill bit." And I had to practice on a lot of doors so I wouldn't mess up a customer's door. And I was like, of course, I need a peephole. Obviously, I need a peephole. And he did it. Sure enough, zip, zip, he's done. And I watched from my window as he sold 8 other peepholes. That man drove away in a 1994 cherry red Toyota Supra. Now, in 94, that was a cool car. That was like a really cool car. But for me, it shifted my thinking about sales because I really had no exposure to what great salespeople look like and what they could do, what was possible. And it really transformed me and inspired me to really get good at learning how to connect with people and sell. And that's
Mm.
how I got into the cell phone business. And make a long story short, I um, I did that for a few years working for other people. I started my own business in 98 and essentially uh, started selling Nextel phones in 98. And that's essentially what kind of uh, birthed Absolute Wireless, which was a chain of wireless retail stores that I would grow until about 2014. And I read the book Traction, and it was just a transformative experience from that moment of reading the book
Mhm.
and the long length of time it took to actually do it right.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No, it's a process, and hell, I'm going through the process again on my on this other journey. But what happened for me, I read the book and I did what every visionary does. They get a bunch of copies and give them out to their team and beg them to start using some of these tools and resources. And it kind of sort of is better than what we had before. And then I had something that I had a, let's say, a spiritual moment at my house. And it happened on a Sunday. And it was the first moment I had ever seen an actual real team do a process in real time that was so transformative for me. And
Mhm.
it was my neighbor's house caught on fire.
Mm.
And I run outside. I heard the fire engines, and there was a bunch of neighbors on one side of my neighbor's house, and my neighbors, they're in their Sunday's best, and their house is on fire.
Mhm.
And as I met the other neighbors, we kind of came together and we're like, what's going on? How can we help? And
Mhm.
as soon as we were talking about how could we assist, a fireman brings up a bucket of waters in front of us. Meanwhile, someone else is suiting up to going into the house. Someone's hooking up the water hoses. I am watching this organized chaos,
Mhm.
and it was very like emotional because the family is standing there in their Sunday's best. I realized that the daughter is crying. We all know that
Mm.
her dog is inside.
Oh.
And so we see these 2 firemen go inside. They bring out this limp puppy dog, and they bring that
Mm.
dog to two other waiting firemen with oxygen masks to try to save its life. And
Mm.
it was just very tense and like um, wild in the sense that as soon as I saw them trying to save this puppy's life and not able to, there was another fireman holding a blanket to receive this animal. And
Mm.
as crazy as it may sound, I suddenly placed myself as if I was there directing that fire as a leader, like as a leader
Mhm.
would. And I realized that if I had been in charge of that department, I would have been the one driving the truck.
Mm.
I would have been the one telling everyone what to do.
Mhm.
And it was as I'm in my mind imagining if I
Mhm.
was leading this group, because I'm seeing really good performance.
Yeah.
As I'm having this go through my head, as crazy as it sounds, the fire chief pulls up in a bright red Suburban, and he gets out of his truck and he crosses his arms and he just looks. And it was just like this sudden realization that I had been a firefighter in my business the whole time.
Mm.
And I was putting out the fires, but I was
Mhm.
not doing what the fire chief is doing. And what he does is he sits in the fire hall and he works with his team on the processes and
Mhm.
the structure and who does what when they get to a fire. And then more importantly, what do you do when a family loses its dog? How do you even receive that?
Mm.
And in my head, as crazy as it may sound, I just imagine guys coming up to me and go, hey, Robert, what do we got to do with this dog?
Right.
You're right. In front of a family who's lost an animal, is dealing with that emotion, all that's
Mhm.
coming. And then at the same point of this whole experience, he, as the fire is, taken care of and the fire trucks are going away, I watched how he was with the family
Mhm.
after the fire engines were gone and they had done their cleanup and they were leaving. And I saw that man's why.
Mm.
I knew exactly why he was doing what he was doing. He was there for the family when they had just lost it all.
Wow.
And he was there. And it was a very profound moment for me. I just
Wow.
realized, holy shit, it was like, it was a God moment where it was like he had to show me what good performance looks like. And that's been my history for a while is I have to learn through actually seeing good performance. I can't
Mhm.
really read it from a book. I gotta feel it. I gotta see it.
Mm.
And that was that moment I was like, all right, I'm hiring an implementer. I cannot do this by myself. I need someone to get myself out of the way. And for me, I was doing it all at that moment in time. I think I had 10 locations. And, went through the EOS process of developing a vision. In fact, at the time, I was separated from my wife. I think we were doing no, actually, I think we had 14 locations, but I was doing about 10 million in sales. And um, there were several things that I wanted to do as part of my VTO, but one is I wanted to grow to 100 million in sales and have 100
Mhm.
locations.
Mhm.
Um, I wanted to move my family to Costa Rica,
Mhm.
and then I wanted to save my marriage. And all three of those things happened within 3 years.
Wow.
We became the fastest growing business in Middle Tennessee 2 years in a row. We grew to 100 million in sales.
Wow.
Um, and along that journey, there was things that I had to do um, to to really take it up a notch. And one of it was choosing sobriety.
Mm.
And the journey of sobriety was transformative for me.
Mhm.
and not so much just from the sobriety piece, because I was a daily drinker. I drank when I had a good day. I drank when I had a bad day. I drink when I had a good success.
Mhm.
It was just there was always a reason to drink. But I think that my favorite thing about this is because I was sober when I first got to Costa Rica, I luckily got involved with a group that was doing weekly breath work.
Mhm.
And I had a breath work. I looked out and I had this breathwork facilitator ask me the most important question I've ever been asked.
Mhm.
And that is, what do you do? That was her question. And I very dismissingly said, I sell cell phones and I've been doing it for almost 20 years. And I said it in a way that was like dismissive. And to make a long story short, she got so excited and she was like, Robert, you sell cell phones? That is amazing. The people that you help connect to their past friends, people they love, to find new job opportunities, music to dance to. And she just went on and on about all the value that happens from your cell phone. And
Mm.
I don't, and it was a moment for me to actually connect with my own why, why I
Mhm.
do what I do, and that I connect people. And it was that
Mhm.
conversation, because that happened very early in the EOS process, but that was the energy that I needed to use
Mhm.
to grow EOS. It's really that love of the work that you do, but
Yeah.
having a deep love to it, that
Mhm.
I think, and that's what I try to do in my practice, is really try to help entrepreneurs find their why, the
Mhm.
reason for being. And that's just an energy that once you can get an entrepreneur to really connect to, their business is unstoppable.
Absolutely. And it's so cool when that happens in a session, and I call that goosebump moment, right? So, as implementers, we're up there and we're fielding their responses. It's an iterative process. We're trying to figure out, like we're digging deeper, we're asking questions, trying to get to the heart of why this business was started in the first place. And, for a lot of people, it's money, right? Oh, I thought I could make a ton of money, but that doesn't sustain it, right? The passion for the business. And if you can't figure out a larger reason for doing what you do, it's really hard to get excited about the vision for the organization. So when we're asking them questions and we're probing and we're tell us a story, what do your customers say about you? And then when you see that emotional pivot that happens and you start to get really into that soul work that Hank O'Donnell refers to this as, it's so cool because then they just blurt it out and everybody in the room, it's like I get goosebumps just talking about getting goosebumps, but like everybody in the room is like, that's it. That's why we're here.
Yes. Yeah. I had that exact moment with a client. They sell pools, and the owner is, he's really, he wants to make the best pools, and he's really into the best pools. And nothing that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great they're making pools, but I said, I promise you, if you got a, a van and you took all your installers to the first pool party of one of your clients, and you pulled up and you were there when all the kids were arriving and all the people that are going to be in the at the pool party, and you were just there with them at their first pool experience, you would suddenly realize that what you were doing was connecting families to make lifelong
Mhm.
memories in the pool. And the pool was just the tool in order for that thing to happen. Like, it's the
Right.
conduit to make it happen. And yes, you can make a pretty pool, and but I'm telling you, the memories that I have, memories of my boys in Costa Rica, and I literally use that as a memorable moment to practice love and to embody love. Because
Mhm.
when kids were 8 and 5 years old, I just have this amazing memory of this afternoon playing in the pool with my boys. I get emotional just to think about when they were 8 and 5, and it just,
Yeah.
it's such a good feeling. And but I think it's part of our roles, Beth, to really help the entrepreneur have a deeper why.
Mhm.
And they know it, but they don't remember it. Like it's
Right.
there. It's if there's it's just a simple question, a couple leading stories. You can get them to tell some stories, and then if we just had some more time with them, and once they connect it,
Mhm.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Then I mean, the universe, God, whatever your flavor is actively like, yep, okay, this is the energy
Yeah.
to grow.
Well, look what happened to you. I mean, you've got that experience, and I mean, I have a similar experience. It's crazy how just having that, this is what we're here to do. This is how we're going to make the world a better place, right? And
Yeah.
let's just keep doing that. So, well, what a great story up to this point. Now I'm going to ask you a question because the whole point of the podcast is for you to reveal a story so that our our other entrepreneurs maybe don't feel as loser like as so many of us do during this journey, because I think when they hear that somebody's been super successful and has also, maybe messed things up along the way, it helps reduce the temperature, right? It helps everybody feel like, hey, we're all just a bunch of humans. So I'm just curious if you have a story that you'd like to share.
Well, it's funny. I'm just normally perfect leader. I don't have any problems whatsoever, and because I've been through so much training with EOS,
Sure.
I don't. No, I've just started this brand new wellness club for entrepreneurs, and I took over a business that wasn't doing well, and we've just took hold like 90 days ago, and this happened literally on Monday, and I totally fumbled the ball in so many ways. um, I have an integrator. He's a great guy. We have literally on Monday start last Monday started the EOS process, and we started that on Monday. And I purposefully, the first 90 days we were just barely hanging on, barely surviving. I started 90 days ago with one employee. Now we're up to four, and it was now enough to actually have a legitimate session, a focus day, and put everybody in their roles, and everybody's doing this and that. And I had a conflict on the calendar for our level 10 on Monday. And I went into a Slack channel and I literally said all the things that were wrong in the business. And and it's just like, here you go, guys. I can't make the level 10. Good luck. And it was not good, Beth. It was not good. And
If
yeah,
I can harken back to your original story, you were the firefighter, right?
it is ingrained in me. It really is. And I if I don't have my time to settle in myself
Mhm.
every day, and I don't do my system, I am apt to fall into old behaviors.
Yep.
And I'm a regular practitioner of breath work as a way to get into a meditative state. And I do
Mhm.
about 20 minutes a day in my sauna every morning. And I the day that I did all that, I had woken up at midnight and worked until 10 o'clock that night. And
Mhm.
I was just in this mode of just, I don't know, getting it done,
Mhm.
almost like autopilot,
Mhm.
but not real thought around it. And so anyway, picking up the pieces from, I mean, it's really, I did a massive faux pas. And the way I've justified it with my team, I said, we help entrepreneurs that are crazy like me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And you guys got to see, this is, this poor performance, but it's also a performance of scarcity.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of sense of scarcity because I'm making a huge investment, and the scarcity thing is really getting in my way sometimes.
Yes.
And I have to, in this world that I'm navigating, it's taking a lot of faith to
Mhm.
do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I dreamed of this club. This is 12,000 square foot facility. I dreamed it up during a breathwork experience 2.5 years ago, and the opportunity came for me to take over this space. Seems very divine. The things that have happened to open this place is amazing, but it's a spiritual journey to do it, no doubt.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm having to break down to break through.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing what the purpose, as you see it, of this organization is.
I've really been inspired by, my sobriety journey was big for me, and scaling sober is it's very simple. It's navigating sobriety while you're growing your business at the same time. Being sober is the most boring thing you could possibly ever do,
Mhm.
and it's a transition for people. And if they can take the energy that they waste and actually dedicate into thinking about their life's purpose, thinking about how they can live, by doing what they love with those that you love. This is Dan
Mhm.
Sullivan, all the core fundamentals. That's the philosophy that I have dived into. And, you have a Grant Cardone type of 10X model, all about hustle and grind and work your ass off to get what you want.
Mhm.
And that was a life that I had navigated, and it wasn't
Mhm.
fulfilling. I needed alcohol to cope. And
Yep.
we can drink something else. And what it is that we should be drinking is what we love to do. And when you are
Mhm.
doing what you love, you will get high on your own internal pharmacy that's in all of us, and that is love. And once you can navigate, um, to know that there's another way to get something that feeds you, then the opportunities just come to you. And I'm building a community where people can, not only can they work, but they come and podcast. We have a sauna. We have a 10-person cold tub. So we do these group
Oof.
experiences that involve music. I'm big into ecstatic dance, which is a modality that have been around for since the beginning of time. Dance is a way to get into a creative state.
Mhm.
If you really wanted to have an amazing session, if you could get everyone to dance before the session, you're going to have a 10x level of a meeting. Um, a lot of things that I learned through breath work is what I teach with the community. And, even crossing your arms across your body when you're moving activates the left and right hemisphere.
Mhm.
and it makes your brain work better. Most of us are spending most of our time in the logic left side of our brain, and that's also where the fear and worry and scarcity mindset can occur. But if you move your body and activate the right hemisphere with the creation, and you start thinking more clearly, you communicate as a leadership team faster. And so I'm teaching these tools that are really baked on the idea of what love is. Love is energy, and it's a space that we do wild woo woo things.
Yeah, but I think that's cool. And there's a lot more of us that are woo-woo. I mean, looking at me or, at first glance, I think people would think, I'm pretty straight-laced and when my clients find out like just how woo-woo I am and we'll do breath work and we'll do downward dog and other things in sessions, they're like, "Wow, this is crazy, but I love it." And
Yeah.
right? It's the thing is, like I kind of want to go back to the impetus for this whole idea, this, entrepreneurial wellness, through sobriety um and many other modalities that as you were saying. The thing that some of the listeners may not realize is that many entrepreneurs struggle with addiction issues. And, the pressure is real, and we're kinda weird anyway. We don't fit in. We didn't fit in school. We didn't fit in, corporate life. I mean, many of us ended up here. I always think about entrepreneurs being, the land of misfit toys. I mean, we're the ones that, just didn't quite fit in. And so to numb that pain, many of us have addiction issues. And I've shared, my own sobriety journey with you. Very similar story. And honestly, EOS broke me out of it because we were implementing EOS in my bakery business. And I looked down at our VTO and I looked at our core values and I said, of these four core values, I don't think I'm living any of them right now. And it was profoundly a big wake up call for me. And so, I kind of say EOS saved my life. And we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones as implementers. There's a lot of us in the implementer community and, entrepreneurs in general. There's a lot of us. So I think that there's something to your idea here because it is a very lonely place being an entrepreneur. And, having a drink every day is one way to kind of quell that loneliness, but it doesn't really fix it. And this sounds like it's a really cool place where people can make that connection and break through in the ways that you're describing. So I think it's great.
And sobriety is such a triggered word for a lot of people. I even when I tell people, if there's someone that I'm talking to that, let's say, drinks on a regular basis, I watch their body language shift, like annoyance, kind of.
Mhm.
And a lot of the feedback I've gotten is people will say, "Is this AA?" And they say it like that.
Yeah.
And I'm going, no, it's not a. I've never been involved in a. I think A is probably wonderful. I've never been, but I also struggle with the idea to go into a group and say I am something, like I am an alcoholic, and because I really believe my language matters, and the way I talk to myself really matters. And I kind of look at it as, scaling sober is an alcohol free lifestyle, but it's more than that, because if you are doing anything to avoid being present, it's something that you should be aware of. And
Right.
I have this very common awareness about this. My phone, it's like I look at my phone, it's like a beer bottle. It's no different. It's no different than what I was doing with alcohol. And I I have I'm on my third sobriety journey. First with alcohol, I'm 9 years. I'm about 2 years with weed, um, and I am now two 1 month and 11 days off sugar. I don't I don't have sugary desserts anymore, but it's an unfolding of sobriety. So I don't think anybody I know is sober.
And addiction, I mean, if you lean towards addiction, it's just takes different forms, you know? So,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just eh, can it take a form that's actually positive, that affects people positively?
And I think there's a path to that, and it boils down to why I'm in strategic coach. When you stop and think about the program that he is doing, like, we all know our unique ability, but we still find ourselves distracted and doing other things outside that unique ability that creates the desire to not be present. And so when I try to do too many things and I don't lean into my unique ability, I want to numb myself because I create so much drama. I want to get on my phone and look at Instagram because I'm trying to get some peace.
Well, I mean, all we can do is be aware of these things and notice, and just like you noticed, yourself in that moment with the f the fire next door, how you noticed yourself when you were putting uh, all those issues into Slack, and, it's the noticing. That's what counts.
It really does. And I instantly became hyper present purposefully, and that I had never done that before, to really just stop and like see things. My intuition um, it is dramatically shifted. I can really be with a person in the room and almost read their minds in a way. Whereas before, I was just simply unaware. And one of the things that I've been advocating, I did this post on LinkedIn a while ago, is like, we need to popularize the word sober leader. Putting it as a statement into the world on LinkedIn to say, you're a sober leader. What does that mean? That means if there's anybody on the team that you're leading that has a problem, they know a leader is there that's navigated some sobriety. And there is a support system. And I think it's a really interesting thing that we do in business, where we make it acceptable at a company party to have an open bar. And I think it's so wild that in corporate culture that's been acceptable, but it does nothing but bring harm into some organizations um, when they allow it. I think, and no judgment. I just think it's wild, um, how dangerous it's been for HR teams to have these alcohol fueled things for connection. And if you had leaders that knew how to connect with people by asking them deeper questions and fostering a more
Mhm,
uh, deeper conversations with leadership teams and
mhm.
how they interact with employees, I think you're going to see people doing business in a way that is healthy, and
Mm,
they'll be connecting with each other, not disconnecting to
right.
connect.
Wow. So, I am gonna ask you a question that I ask all of my guests on the podcast. I don't know if you have any tattoos, but I'm very tattoo curious about people's tattoos. And if you had a tattoo, what would your tattoo be and where would it be located? That either reminds you of this very long winding road that you've been on, or something else? Like, is there have you first of all, do you have any tattoos?
I have no tattoos, but I
Yeah.
have thought about tattoos, and the only thing I would ever tattoo would be a QR code so I could change it because I'm evolving all the time. I don't want to commit to a freaking symbol that could just be something weird later. Or, I mean, imagine if you got a crazy tattoo and suddenly a hate group use that as their symbol. And you're like, well, it wasn't like that 10 years ago, you know? I mean, I really find tattoos quite interesting and funny because if you get them too early, then they're all fuzzy and look weird. Um, and I know there's many versions of me, and I just don't want to have an old version of me when I'm trying to be another version of me. And I just haven't resonated with, and I just think about all those girls that I went to high school with who went to college and got a tramp stamp. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Beth, you got one?
No, I don't.
Oh, come
I don't have a
on.
tramp
Come
stamp.
on.
I don't have any. And I mean, I keep I'm fascinated by them. And for I think it's the exact reason that you said is that I have changed my career. I'm not no joke, 7 times. And if I have, reiterated myself so many times, I I don't wanna be committed to something that was who I was in the past. So I think that that's me. I mean, and you have a similar viewpoint. Other people, it's art and it's like all these other things. And when they talk about their tattoos and they're very emotionally attached to what they wanted to do or what they put on their body. And I think that that's super cool to hear the story. And I always ask people what the whole story is, which I mean, it's like what you want to tell the story. That's why you're putting it on your body, right?
And I
Um,
think it's a great tool for connecting with a past memory. And I could see myself, doing something that would have, a significance where you could embody a feeling by just looking at your arm, you
mhm.
know. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I will one day. I mean, I a part of it for like when I see men with them, it's more of a like a masculine, like look how tough I am kind of thing, which I think is hilarious. You remember those barbed wires
Yes.
around the I mean, I actually thought they looked pretty cool. And
Yeah.
but when they stopped working out and they just got a flabby arm and they got this barbed wire, it just turned weird, like you would have thought they would have been committed to the workout to, show the muscle, and at the barbed wire has a whole look, not just like you just can't give up, you just got, yeah, I
That's
don't know.
funny.
That's an
Maybe that
interesting
was the
process.
reason, yeah, that they got it in the first place, who knows? Well, okay, so QR code. I'm going
Yeah,
with
a
that.
QR code. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
for
love that
real.
idea. That totally cracked me up, so anyway, Robert, it's been a great conversation, and I'm glad I get to share you with the audience, and, I know that I'm gonna see you in a couple weeks at our training, but, I do enjoy that we get to see each other.
I'm so excited about your book, by the way. And we didn't talk about the book,
Oh,
but I do believe that the EOS rollout is the most important thing in EOS that is not
mm,
talked about enough. To me, it's
yep,
not talked about enough. And part of why I have this big club is I want to have a place where I could do crazy, wild EOS rollouts with fun and energy
yeah,
and get people really to feel what they are doing has a greater reason and purpose. And I think the EOS rollout is the most important thing that we're just not talking about enough.
yep. Well, that thank you for saying that. It is why we wrote the book because there was, we felt there was a gap, and We think it's going to help a lot of people. It's really early stages at the time of the recording here. We've only had the book out in stores, the hardcover, for about a week or so. So when this airs, hopefully we have all the versions of it out. And, because people like to listen to books, there is an audiobook coming and a Kindle and all that. So yeah, we're excited to bring this to the community at large, and I think it'll be helpful. So thank you for saying so.
Looking forward to reading it.
Yep. Yep. All right. I'll see you in Florida, and I'll see you in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to continuing our conversations because I enjoy them so much. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Beth. Thanks so much.
Thanks to Robert Hartline for sharing his deeply moving and inspiring entrepreneurial journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with friends who need to hear this. Thanks for listening to Bad Boss Confessional. We'll see you next week.